The current U.S. debt is around 120% of GDP. This is high in terms of historical standards. Even after the expenses of World War II, the U.S. debt to GDP ratio in 1945 was only 113%. And 20 years ago, the ratio was only 56%. U.S. debt is likely to be even larger in the next few decades. These persistent deficits will increase the debt, are in part caused by higher Social Security payments and the medical care costs due to the aging population in the United States. Can the U.S. sustain these deficits and high debt? Japan is an interesting case to look at. The challenges faced in the U.S. today are similar to those of Japan 20 years ago. Japan's national debt ratio has been high for decades. It was well over 100% 20 years ago, and is more than 220% currently. Yet, they have no debt crisis and inflation remains low. So, is the U.S. debt level a cause for concerns? If Japan can sustain its debt, why can't the United States? How is Japan sustaining its debt? First, the Japanese government has large amount of debt, but also hold a large amount of assets, more than 100% of GDP. As a result, the net debt to GDP ratio is much lower, only 120%. In addition, its asset return is much higher than the payments on its liabilities. Essentially, the Japanese government implemented a carry trade strategy to earn a higher return on its risky investments and borrow cheaply domestically. In contrast, the U.S. government does not hold much in assets, and the return on its assets is similar or even lower than its payments on its liabilities. Could the Japanese strategy work for the United States? Maybe not. Any discussion of adopting Japanese debt strategy in the United States must consider the effects. At least in Japan's case, the low interest rate environment hurts poor and younger households who keep their wealth in bank accounts, and benefit older and richer households who use more investment options. As a result, this strategy might not be ideal for the United States. My name is YiLi Chien, Economic Policy Advisor at the St. Louis Fed. Visit stlouisfed.org for more information.
The views expressed in this video do not necessarily reflect those of the St. Louis Fed or the Federal Reserve System.